Something massive just happened in neuroscience that should not be possible. Researchers took the deadliest virus on the planet, rewired it, and used it to watch psilocybin from magic mushrooms physically repair the brain in real time, right down to the specific neurons involved. What they found changes everything we thought we knew about consciousness, identity, trauma, and even who you are as a person. So if you've ever wondered how one psychedelic experience can change someone's life, you're about to see the actual mechanism. I'm not talking about neuroplasticity as just a buzzword. I mean programmable rewiring captured with a weaponized virus. The implications are staggering. Stay with me, because the breakthrough isn't just what psilocybin does, it's how we can physically control what it does. The last part of this video might be the most astonishing thing you've ever heard about the human mind. Welcome to the Shadow Mind. This is a channel for people who are curious about how the mind actually works. Beneath habits, beneath labels, beneath personality narratives, we explore the underlying systems that shape perception, behavior, identity, and change. Using modern neuroscience, emerging technology, and real scientific breakthroughs. This isn't self-help. It isn't motivation. And it isn't designed to make you comfortable. It's designed to make you accurate. If you're looking for quick reassurance or surface-level answers, this probably isn't the right place. But if you want to understand the mind from the ground up and apply that understanding to real improvement, you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe, and let's begin the exploration. Let's start with the part that sounds like science fiction but isn't. Since 2021, we've known that psilocybin grows thousands, even millions of new connections between neurons. Some last for weeks, some are permanent, but there was a big problem. Nobody knew where those connections actually went, or what they did. We knew the brain was building new roads, but we had no idea which cities they connected. This is where Cornell and the Allen Institute did something almost unthinkable. They turned to rabies. Yes, the virus that makes dogs foam at the mouth. The rabies virus naturally travels backward through your nervous system, jumping from one neuron to every neuron that sends it a signal. It's the ultimate tracking system, but it's also the deadliest pathogen we know. So, scientists engineered a version of rabies that only jumps one neuron at a time. They deleted the gene that allows it to be lethal and added a green fluorescent marker. They turned the world's deadliest virus into a biological neon green highlighter. A virus that kills was repurposed to light up the circuitry of healing. This is where everything changes. Let's get into the actual study. On day 1, they injected a helper virus into the frontal cortex of mice to prime specific neurons. This incubated for about 13 days. On day 14, one group of mice received psilocybin, the other got a simple saline solution. 2 days later, they injected the modified rabies virus with the green highlighter into the exact same brain region. By day 21, the virus had spread backward, just one synapse. Then, the brains were harvested, and this is where it gets wild. They used something called light sheet microscopy, which takes millions of images of unimaginably thin slices of each mouse brain. Then, they counted every single green highlighted neuron, over 500,000 inputs per brain, and mapped each one to its exact location across 316 brain regions. This was the first complete map of how psilocybin rewires a brain ever created. Everyone expected the results to be random, chaotic, but they weren't. The rewiring followed a pattern so statistically improbable, the odds of it happening by chance were listed as p equals 0.00006. Something very specific was happening. The connections that got stronger by up to 10% were all sensory. 10% is a massive deal in neuroscience. These were parts of the brain like the somatosensory cortex, the visual cortex, and the motor cortex. Psilocybin strengthens your connection to the external world. The world feels more vivid because your brain is literally wiring itself back into reality. Then, there were the connections that got weaker by a full 15%. This is huge, and these were all in regions that build our internal narrative of who we are. Areas for fear response, anxiety, and threat detection like the insula. The hippocampus, which governs memory. The amygdala, our emotional center. And the orbital frontal cortex, where we ruminate and form expectations. To put it in plain English, psilocybin temporarily quiets the parts of your brain that generate you. Your fears, your memories, your self-referential loops. The default mode network, the engine of depression, goes quiet. It loses its grip. This is why people say the world feels new, because their brain is literally creating a new world for them. But there was one part of this study that nobody expected. The researchers decided to chemically silence just one brain region during the psilocybin session. The silenced region did not get rewired, but every other active region did. This is massive. The wiring isn't random at all. It's dependent on your experience. What they proved is that when your brain grows, you become what you pay attention to. And that means something extraordinary and frankly a little dangerous. If you know which pathways will be active, you can choose which pathways get strengthened. If you can silence the ones that cause fear and rumination, you can weaken them big time. Want to strengthen visual processing? Show visual stimuli during the session? Want to reduce anxiety loops? Just quiet down the insula or amygdala during peak plasticity? Want to reshape an entire human identity and guide someone's attention to new models of self while the old ones are offline? We are crossing a massive threshold in neuroscience, maybe the biggest one ever. For the first time, we're not just watching a brain change. We can now watch what the brain is becoming. This discovery shows us something beautiful. Our minds are not fixed. They are dynamic and evolving. Now we can see and even edit the script of that rewiring. You might think this is just about therapy for trauma or depression, but it's bigger. This is the first time science has identified the exact circuits that change during a transformative experience. We are seeing the real-life blueprint, neuron by neuron, of how someone can heal from PTSD in a single session. And once you can see the circuitry, you can design it. That's the dangerous part. This also means that identity, the thing you call you, is not a constant. It's a product of active networks. And those networks can now be turned up or down. Your personality, memories, fears, they're not as permanent as they feel. That truth is a double-edged sword. It's liberating, but also deeply unsettling. Here's what this truly means. Whoever controls your attention during a psychedelic window controls what gets strengthened and what gets weakened. They control which version of you emerges. This is a discovery with the power to heal millions, but also the power to manipulate them. We are entering an era where consciousness itself can be engineered. But the most beautiful part is that this breakthrough shows us consciousness may not be a static property at all. For the first time, we can see the code. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is why we study the shadow, not as something mystical or symbolic, but as the set of underlying systems that quietly govern perception, behavior, and identity. Because identity isn't a truth, it's a structure. Structures can be analyzed, modified, and under the right conditions, intentionally rebuilt. If you want to go deeper into how attention, identity, and personality are shaped at the circuit level and how those mechanisms can be applied deliberately, there's a link in the description to the Neuro-Architect protocol. This channel exists to make the mechanisms visible. The protocol exists to make them usable. If this episode changed the way you think about your own mind, support the work, engage with the video, explore the materials, and stay with us. This is the shadow mind. And once you understand the architecture, you stop being a passenger